After playing over 50 hours of early access myself, I'm here to tell you that Baldur's Gate 3 is not for everyone. To all of you RPG fans out there, if you're sitting on the fence about this game, then this video will be very useful, and I will explain why now. Baldur's Gate 3 is set in the world of and heavily influenced by 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons, and because of this, it has entire volumes of rules which influence every single possible interaction across the whole game. However, just because it is heavily inspired and influenced by these rules, it doesn't mean that you need to be a seasoned D&D player. Even if you have no experience playing D&D like myself, it doesn't mean that you can't become fully invested in this game and enjoy the beautiful storytelling that comes with it. And here comes the but. But, because Baldur's Gate 3 sticks so closely to these D&D rules, it's absolutely necessary to point out that going into this experience, you need to be aware that there is a huge difference between an RPG, an ARPG, and a CRPG. Because Baldur's Gate is a CRPG, just because you like games like The Witcher, Fallout, and Diablo, which are all RPGs and ARPGs, doesn't automatically make Baldur's Gate 3 a game that you'll enjoy, but it does help. So what exactly is a CRPG? Well, CRPG stands for Computer RPG, in other words, a computer role-playing game. Essentially, you're role-playing on a computer as if you had your very own D&D character. CRPGs reflect the speed of tabletop games by being very tactical with elements of turn-based combat. Within that, the rules of D&D apply to everything that you do, meaning that sometimes you want to do things and a roll of the dice can be the difference between allowing or denying success. So, with this inherent likeness to D&D, it means that character progression and development is extremely deep and personal. It completely changes the way the game plays and the way that everything in the environment reacts to your choices. It's a far cry from something like an action RPG like Diablo, where you speedily mow down countless mobs in a nightmare dungeon with your godlike character min-maxing at every opportunity, trying to clear dungeons faster and faster with speed, gear and skill combined. In Baldur's Gate 3, things are much more realistic, at least as realistic as you can get in a fantasy role-playing game. Choices and actions matter significantly. Even if in the moment you don't realise it, choosing to do one action over another can have a butterfly effect that completely changes your journey, for better or worse, creating a truly unique experience for you. This distinction between a CRPG and other RPGs is significant and not to be overlooked. This genre of gaming is much more personal. You're likely to spend an hour just in the character creator screen alone when first loading into the game, because when this game launches, there's going to be over 11 races with 28 sub-races, from which you'll also need to choose between 12 or more classes, which in turn have over 40 subclasses. The classes that you can pick in this game range from anything from a cleric, a fighter, a ranger, a rogue, a warlock, a wizard, a druid, a sorcerer, a barbarian, a bard, a paladin, and a monk, all of which have their own unique playstyle. The decisions you make before you even play the game for a minute will entirely influence hours of gameplay, hours of cinematics, and how individuals within the game might interact with your character. It can affect which companions you might or might not be able to take with you, which in turn will affect the story further based on these individuals' likes, dislikes, and desires. All of these things combined, creating a completely unique experience for your playthrough every time that you play with a new character. In terms of the scope of this game, it's absolutely huge. The developers have suggested that if you were to only focus on the main story and not deviate from that by exploring or doing side missions, you're looking at anywhere between 60 to 80 hours of gameplay with a single playthrough if you're being efficient. For context, I personally have over 50 hours in this game purely from the early access area, which consists of only the first act of the game. So by putting that logic across 4 acts within a game, it could be a 200+ hour game for me on a single playthrough because I'm a curious player. When you play Baldur's Gate 3, expect long cutscenes and to be invested heavily into the story while finding out how your character fits into the world. If you go into this game expecting some form of crazy combat mechanics, you might be slightly disappointed. I feel like these are extremely important factors to be highlighted to anyone seriously considering playing Baldur's Gate 3. Because for the price on release, it's not a cheap game. In my personal opinion, the game is worth significantly more than the asking price at the moment, especially when you compare it to a lot of modern release game standards. So I guess what I'm saying at this point is, don't expect a full, fast-paced, geared-up ARPG experience, because you will be disappointed. Now, to not be disappointed, you'll have to be the type of person that wants to invest your time into something that feels like a heavily personalized and unique, slower type of game with multiple ways to tackle every situation and no real right or wrong answer. You can be as good or evil, as stealthy or aggressive, as out of the box or as basic as you want to be, and still progress through the game. If that type of gameplay sounds appealing to you, you would be a fool to miss out on this title. And when you eventually do play this game, my personal advice after my 50 hours of playing is to take the dice as they come. If you fail a roll that you really wanted to pass, just take the hit. Experience the game in its truest form. If you play like this, your playthrough will become a truly unique experience and one that you'll likely remember fondly indefinitely. So yeah, within this video I really wanted to make the clarification that there is a huge difference between different types of RPGs, and maybe this game isn't for everyone, and people should be fully aware of what they're getting into before they invest into it. I'll be making another video on Baldur's Gate 3 post-launch after I've managed to get through all of the story, and I'll give it an official review. If you've enjoyed this video, let me know what you're most excited about in Baldur's Gate 3 in the comments. Until next time, see you later.